Listen. I've been hearing a lot lately about men don't talk, but in my experience, men do talk, just people aren't listening. So it's going to be me and a group of blokes discussing our struggles and victories through life. Warning, there may be some bad language, so apologies to all the moms, especially my own. Let's get going. Listen.
Having yeah, this is the Black Country Blokes tuning the fact about everything it is mental health, disability, and life in general. Here with me, Kev Dillon, and my partner in crime, as always, Lee Cadman. Now we're joined by a very, very good friend of mine. He's been a big part of the club for the last 15 or so years, maybe even longer. He boxed for me. He's a coach. He's a very good friend, Kristian Marrey. So, Chris, thank you very much for coming back on.
Cheers.
Kristian come on years ago, about 4 years ago, when we were recording downstairs and talked about his life. So go to our archives and check out his story. But today we're going to be talking about mental health, boxing, and everything in between. But we're going to start, as always, with our gratitude list. I'm very grateful. I'm grateful for life in general. We've got a great boxer, Danny Amjad, but we're calling him Divil from now on. He boxed in the quarterfinals on the weekend, boxed out this world, boxed against a real tough scouser who come to beat him. But we won on a split decision, and now we're forwards to the semi-finals and touch wood, the finals this weekend. I'm very grateful for the team that came to watch. Grateful for Josh, as always, my right-hand man at the club, who's helping me run the classes, and he's just a great bloke. But yeah, I'm grateful, to be as far as we are, and grateful for the people that are around me. What are you grateful for?
The builders doing Caller's extension and bathroom. They finally started again this week, and yeah, looking forward to being done already. But it's nice to know it's now back underway, and soon she'll be able to enjoy a bath without us trying to lift her upstairs.
That's a big thing, isn't it? Because as people know by now, Lee's daughter's got a disability with Dravet syndrome, but she's getting older, aren't you? And unfortunately, we're getting older.
Yeah.
And it's anyone, who's got a child anyway of 10 years old, they get harder and more awkward, and you don't want to bugger yourself up and hurt her, do you?
Yeah, and she doesn't understand. She's being picked up, so she can flail around, or she can have a seizure while you're trying to carry her up the stairs and things like that. So yeah, it'd be nice to not have to do that, to have a hoist that just lifts her up, puts her in the bath, and yeah, no hassle up and down stairs. And
it's such a big thing. It's not even a small thing. It's a big thing, isn't it? Safety.
Yeah.
For you, for her, and everyone else. But when you can just put her there, get her there, put her there, and she's safe.
Yeah. And so I'm just glad it started again, but look forward to its finishing, because she hasn't got a room at the moment because of it. So we're carrying her upstairs to sleep upstairs with us as well at the moment, which is not ideal, but soon enough it'll be done.
What are you grateful for, brother?
My family and the people around me. It's just they're happy, healthy, and nothing more I could ask for.
It is. I mean, like week in, week out, I'm sat here with Lee, and when I hear things like that, I mean, when I phone him up, one of my best mates in the world, and I phone him up and go like, "Oh, bloody, I'm knackered. I had a terrible night's sleep." And then he'll tell me he's been up. They've had like 30 seizures, and I think, oh,
I know how to make you feel better, don't I, Kev?
But it humbles me sometimes, and like because my daughter's able-bodied, and then even when she's had like tonsillitis, she's got a fever, and I'm so worried. But what you put up with on a day-to-day basis is, but you do it with a smile every day, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. She's a joy to look after, to be quite honest. It's all the other shit, for want of a better word, like building and OTs and all that nonsense. That's the hard bit of it all for me. It's time consuming, it's draining, it's shit.
The phone calls,
that's it. All that kind of thing. It's but actually, she's a joy to look after, to be quite honest.
And how's the new medication getting on?
Yeah, it's doing well. It's doing really well.
Good. So, Chris, because I'm going to get it wrong, tell me what your job title is.
I'm a HCA, healthcare assistant.
And what does that involve?
Assisting people with their day-to-day activities. They might need help doing like forms, stuff like that. They might not be able to make their own bed, so I can assist with doing that. You try not to take over and do it for them. It's giving them the skills to get on with life.
And this is people with mental health or any kind of
mental health issues. Yeah.
But it's that whole thing. If you give a man a fish, he eats once. If you teach him how to fish, he eats for life. And that's there's not enough of that in not just mental health, in everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
Teaching people how to iron, teaching people how to hoover, teaching people how to cook foods, teaching people how to manage money. We like people when they're too far broken instead of giving people the tools to make them survive and flourish.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realise they already have the tools. They've just always been told either no or been given too much help. So they just default into not doing anything for themselves.
Yeah.
But if you set a boundary, enforce it, and do that consistently, people build themselves up, essentially.
It's the consistency and the routine of doing it. Like you mentioned, just making your bed. If you're able to get up and make your bed, it's something done and accomplished, and a routine of doing it.
Yeah.
Which obviously helps you.
Because some people will try and make you do everything for them because they just don't want to do anything, which sends them down on a spiral of like feeling negative about everything anyway. But if you can be cruel to be kind by not helping people and go, no, you can do it yourself, it makes them better going forward. It sets up a good routine for them.
And it's showing them how it's done. Because we all know that from boxing or reading what go, this is how it's done. Have a go. Even if you do a terrible job, at least you've had a go. And then we can build on this then. And that isn't like making a bed. No, well, you have to tuck the sheet in first and you have to do this and show them.
You tell you don't make a bed.
But you've got to allow people to learn, to flourish and to fail. And I think because we live in that, we're too frightened to fail, so I won't ever go at all.
Yeah.
And that you see it at school, you see it everywhere, and you're going, and people will have a fit because they can't do it. But you're never going to do it unless you try to do it the first time.
Yeah, and that's a big thing I have for myself. I have a million different ideas that I want to do and try and things like that. But I'm always worried, like, oh, my first roadblock, what if I can't get past that first roadblock? Then I talk myself out from doing stuff. It's like business ideas or something like that. Like, if I can see a roadblock potentially happening in the future, I always talk myself out of it. So I won't be able to get past that roadblock. So there's no point even trying.
You know what?
I don't want to fail.
I was very similar, and I'd set up business before the one I've got now, but I never really fully committed, thinking, well, if this goes wrong, I'm done. And then the little one come along, and with all her problems, and now my attitude's totally different. I think, well, if my business doesn't work out now, that's not the worst that can happen to me. I'll go and get a job. I'll go and get a job. It's not, it's me losing a job or losing my business. Don't get me wrong, I've worked hard and I'd like to keep it, but it wouldn't be the end of the world. It'd be, okay, well, let's just go and get a job then. Yeah. And I think sometimes you have to have that. And you've got to do it in a calculated way. Like, I'm not saying I go out and blow every bit of money in the business account because I've got this idea, but I'm certainly not scared of doing it now. I don't have that fear.
You don't purposely fail.
No.
But failure isn't the end of the world, is it?
No, it's not.
And I think when you see that in life, and it's like, learn to fail early.
Yeah.
So you know how bad it feels, but it hasn't killed you.
Yeah.
But when you lose, I always say, I mean, you've said it for years, when you lose your first couple of bouts, it's horrible. It breaks your heart. But you have them people who go and win the first 10 or 20, they lose, and it's just, what do I do with this? But if you lose a couple on the way, you're going, all right then, I know it isn't going to kill me.
But most people won't try things, because especially with work and jobs, they won't try their own business because they go, well, if this fails, I'm going to lose my house, my kids are going to go off, this is going to happen. And actually, it's probably not. It's not going to. Your business may fail. There's no guarantees. But if you've got skills and you've built up skills where you're building a business, you'll get another job. You'll get a job without doubt. So just go for it.
Which is
seriously, ask yourself, what's the worst can happen?
Yeah, it's a weird thing because I've always managed to, like, if I've ever found myself going towards a hole, be able to pull myself out of a hole, get a new job, because I never look down on any sort of job or do any sort of job. It doesn't really matter what sort of job it is. So I know that I'd always find a job because every job's available to me.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I just don't like failing. So it's just like one of those things where, like, I try and avoid failure to the point where I don't try anything.
Yeah.
I think I'm trying to get out of that. I really am.
Yeah, I think that is more as well when you do have kids and family. That kind of, it does exacerbate that a bit. Whereas when you're young and free, and really not a kid. You don't have to worry about things.
The consequences. And
the consequence of but really, if you actually stop and think about the consequences, even at your age now, as you say, if you tried a business now and it failed, you'd be disappointed, but you'd go and get a job.
Yeah, and it's
you'd be in the same situation where your family is still there. You've still got a roof over your head. You can still put food on the table. And really, as we were saying earlier, the best part of your day was sitting around with your family, making and looking at, and that will still be there.
The true disappointment is when you hear people going, "I wish I'd have tried."
Yeah,
it's not regretting the things I did do; it's the things that I did not do.
Yeah, 100%. That is a mentality that I'm trying to work through. It's just getting those first steps in, and
it's easier said than done, isn't it?
Yeah, I need to actually take the steps, then fail, then realise, oh, yeah, as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah.
And then I can continue.
Did you come and see Emily Barney from up here of Spartan Brain Gym? She really helped me to do that, because it's not about going over trauma. It's about focusing on what I can do better today and tomorrow. Okay. And then embracing yourself in what you could do. I'll give you her details after.
Yeah, cheers. Yeah,
follow her on social media. You guys follow Emily Barney on all social medias.
Spartan Brain Gym, isn't it? I presume you've got to follow, not Emily.
Yeah, you've got to follow her. And we've had her on this show and on the radio. So go back once again, another episode for you if you're bored over the weekend. Kristian and Emily. But because the power of the mind is phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah.
The power of the mind. But we see this like with mental health and everything. It's like we need to. Some people are very, very poorly, but some people allow certain hurdles to ruin them. We need a bit of that resilience, don't we? We need help along the way, but sometimes we need this resilience, which I feel like I've gone through my panic attacks and like depression, all this. But like, what gets me out the hole now is realizing I've been down here before and I survived it last time, so I can survive it again.
Yeah.
And I think like at your place where you work in a secure unit, a bit like jail or like these, instead of just throwing them away and looking away the key, you need to give people tricks of the trade and ways of helping them from not doing the same mistakes.
Yeah.
And even like with talking therapies to when you've been able to do like boxing training and fitness with them to give them something to occupy not only their mind but their time.
Yeah, well, where I work is basically like it's like a jail for mental health patients. They don't like the jail sort of like term because it's not a jail, it's a hospital. But their freedoms are still taken away under their sections. Some people can't go out into communities, and depending on what section they're on, some people can go out in the community, either escorted or unescorted. And it's trying to break the patterns of people's normal behaviours of like, there's a different way to live. Like, yes, you have mental health issues, be it drug related or whatever's brought on the mental health issues. It's trying to set people up how they can return to normal functioning society. And the majority of the lads in there do want that. They do want to have a normal life. Obviously the mental health side of it, like schizophrenia and stuff, is a big barrier to people, but once you get the medication sorted on that, most people do sort of like level out and they can live a really good functioning life. There's a lot of different complexities attached to everything, but my goal in there is to try and help people live a normal life once they leave that hospital setting, and let people know that they can live a normal life once they leave the hospital setting. Like, you can go and do this if you want to go do it. You can go and do that if you want to go do that. Like, nothing's holding you back. You got a criminal record. I know loads of lads with criminal records and they're successful now. It's you got mental health issues. I know people with mental health issues that are doing well. It's like trying to help people understand they're not a lost cause in that sort of setting is one of the biggest factors. Like, yeah,
because you're already under there without your own consent, aren't you? A lot of the time, you're not walked in there, and then your freedoms are took away. So you probably do feel a bit like, well,
and you
what am I? Am I worthless here? Am I?
And you've got to take certain medication. It's like, well, why do I have to take certain medications?
Mm.
Like because under sections you can like force medications on people, which sort of when I first started went against like my principles. I don't like that sort of aspect of things. But when you see someone who is tortured in their own head, their world is horrible, and then you see them on the medication, and then they're happy and they're laughing and they're joking. And like it's sort of like balanced it out for me. It's like, okay, that maybe in some cases like you can be a benefit to people. And it's
The problem people have is like sometimes, and I've had lots of friends we both know, and it's like, I don't need the medication because I'm feeling good, but you're only feeling good because the medication's in your system. When you stop taking the medication, then you're poorly again. It's hard to get that into the red.
Yeah.
Saying you're well now because of it. And sometimes it's the greater of two evils to have the medication so I can have a balanced, happier life, isn't it?
Yeah, and that is a really big issue where, like, what I've seen is they get better because of the medication and be like, oh, I don't really need this anymore. And then you try and catch it before they start going, right, I'm not taking it anymore. You try and get like while they're in their rational mind, you're like, look, you're this because of that. And then do you remember this point in when you first came? I don't really remember that. Why don't you remember that certain point of your life? And it's a very interesting job. It's a really interesting job. I like it. And I try and be a positive force in that job. I hold the keys where I am. I open the doors for people. I do that. Like, so I'm sort of like a position of sort of like an authority, but you can never sort of like treat yourself as like, I am in authority here. It's a really delicate balance because you want to help people as a human, like my human nature is to try and help people become better people, but then you got to enforce strict boundaries because you're in a medium secure facility and you're dealing with people from jail. So a lot of people have jail mentality still, so like bringing in drugs and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things you got to try and balance, and it's a very difficult job.
Do you find being a boxing coach all these years has helped you? Because you get used to the scallywags, you get used to the broken people, but you know when to give someone a telling off, but you know when to give people love, don't you?
Yeah.
You can't get people to burpee jump into their hearts, can you? You can't just stand there and go, 100 burpee jumps or do this, because he's going to look at you thinking, I'm not in the army. But if you have to give someone a rollicking, they go, I was in the wrong.
Yeah, a lot. I've had a few of the lads in there. They go like, we like you because you're firm, but you're fair. Yeah, you're not an arsehole with it. Yeah, it's like you let us know what we've done wrong. You don't know. You don't always just go like, okay, we're gonna go and blow this all up. But if we do it again, then you do take the steps necessary, like, because there is a lot of arseholes in the healthcare sort of. Like,
there is everywhere in that. Teachers, coppers. They're not all bad. No, it's them couple of sour grapes that ruins the wine, doesn't he?
Yeah, and you normally know which one's the arseholes, and the other ones will get it.
Yeah.
Like, I've never really been hit. Like, there's occasions where I've been hit because of the whole situation's kicked off, and then like it's just madness. But don't be an arsehole. Yeah. And try and actually make people better and treat people how you'd want to be treated.
That's what you're there for as well, isn't it? Those people aren't there to be punished.
No.
You know, it isn't jail. It's they're not. Yeah, it's a hospital. So,
but, I mean, when I've talked to people who've gone into bushy fields, they aren't as secure units where you work, but when they're on a 4-on-1 section and everything, and they've said, Kev, we've got less rights here than we have in Nick. You know what I mean? And it's when I've talked to people and they've said they're more frightened going into a hospital than they are. And I'm thinking, when very poorly people are so frightened of going to the place that's supposed to make them better, the system, the structure needs changing.
I think a lot of their fear is because once you get detained under the mental health act, is an indefinite thing.
Yeah.
It's like there's no, like jail, you know, when you get getting out.
Yeah, 3 months, 10 years.
Under a mental health section, you ain't got that luxury. Like if couple of doctors
There's
say,
almost no hope in there.
yeah, it's like, where's the light at the end of the tunnel? It's like whenever the doctor shows me the light at the end of the tunnel, and along that path, anything can happen. Like, everyone's human, everyone makes mistakes, but when you're under a section like that, a
You
little
punish
mistake
them.
can take that light at the end of the tunnel away, and then you got to restart everything again. So I understand the anxieties people have there, and people feel like they can't be their true selves, and then when people can't feel their true selves, they blow up a little bit eventually. But again, if you got people, not blowing my own horn or anything, but like, I try and talk to people nicely, and being nice to people as well doesn't mean like I'm all like, oh, you can do anything you want sort of thing. It's like I tell people, like, stop being a dickhead.
Yeah.
I don't know if I get in trouble for like at work for calling people a dickhead, but
Along them lines.
but
But I do anyway.
but that's how you build rapport. It's like
Yeah.
you're not treating them differently to how you treat your friend.
Mm.
Like, there's a boundary where they're not your friend, but if my friend was acting like a dickhead, I'd tell him he's acting like a dickhead.
But the same thing is like, because you've also got, like, say you've got your problems, but then you're around a lot of other people with problems, so that could be problematic in itself. Situations can happen over words or actions.
Yeah.
But then if you've got a doctor or a nurse or a worker there who's also a bit of a spiteful git, and he keeps lighting the fire on purpose, knowing you can react to it.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate with all these situations. We've all been to school, and you know that nasty teacher that keep winding the kid up just so he'd react.
Yeah.
So you can punish him. Those dickheads are in every section of life, aren't they?
Yeah. 100%.
And you're thinking, if you're like this, why have you picked this job? If you don't like alcoholics, why are you working in a pub? You know what I mean? And if this is your button, why are you pressing it on purpose? And then when you can get these people who are vulnerable and you get them to act unaccordingly to get them into trouble, that's bullying, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And there's a lot of people who have positions of authority what want to abuse their authority in there. So I think there's been studies on it where people, if they get that position, they will abuse it.
Yeah.
And
Narcissism.
it's just, you just got to be.
We've got a question for you actually as well, Kristian. That's just come in. For some reason, it's not bringing up the name of who sent it, so it's a Facebook user, but it asks if there's one thing he could change that would make a big difference to the care of the patient, what would it be?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
It sounds like a Steve Ansel question to me, but it hasn't actually got, for some reason, not bringing up people's names there.
You
So,
make
Steve, it's you. Let me know.
You
It
make
is.
I was going to say, you make it sound like we've got one listener, and it's just confirm we have.
Me personally, it's something I've been trying to do already is give patients skills that they're actually going to use outside, because obviously the lads what I deal with are prison lads, ex-drug users and stuff like that. So then 9 times out of 10, they're not going to go get a job in an office. 9 times out of 10, it's just who they are. They're not going to be some high-end CEO, but there could be. This is from me speaking to them and learning what they'd want to do and stuff. But like a lot of them would like just delivery driver jobs. Like, can we help them get provisional licenses and stuff like that? Can labouring, like, can we teach them good labouring skills while we're there?
Chef,
like,
yeah, those kind of
those sort of skills.
yeah.
I don't think that is most likely due to funding. But I'd like a more of an emphasis on giving people skills, what gives them, like, you know what, I am
Opportunities
I can
once
do
they've
this.
left,
I
yeah.
can do this when I get out now. Like, it's an actual thing that I can actually do. I know how to plasterboard now, so I can go to a plasterer. Like, I know how to plasterboard, like, a good standard now, and it gives them a job. Even if it's cash in hand, I don't mind that. It's like it stops them robbing you. It's like give people a skill what they can actually take into the community and better themselves with that.
And like you say, we benefit because then if they're earning money, they're not robbing people.
Yeah.
We had a bloke on here, Ed the Ed, and he come on, he spent a lot of his life in jail, and he said, and he was stuck with us, and he said, like, one day, these people are going to get out. And, you know, you have people say, oh, throw them away, lock away the key, feed them on bread and water, and torture them every day. But you're just getting someone out here who's going in as bad, if not worse, when it comes out.
Yeah.
So how about we try and put right what went wrong with them? Saying like about work programs, about education, about rehab, about this. And so hopefully when they do come out of hospital or NIC, they're coming out with a few more skills instead of going, all right, then you've had 3 years, now we're moving you back into the same flat in the same area with no education, no money. And you go, well, I'm going to do exactly what I did last time because I know no different.
Yeah, like I need an extra 50 quid. How am I going to get that 50 quid?
Yeah.
Like I can't do labour because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone in that sort of thing. So I'm just going to go rob some beef and
Yeah.
then sell it. Like it's what you know. You revert back to what you know, don't you?
Exactly.
You go to that. So 100%. Like even prisons and mental health systems like that, where people have been taking their freedom away and they've got limited skills about it, and we really need to enforce learning skills and practical skills, what they're actually going to use in life. Like
the mad thing is, you could almost use it as labour if they're looking at building work. I'm sure all them buildings need work on them.
Yeah,
there's hospitals, they all need work on them, where you've got these people, you can actually teach them skills and go, actually, yeah, and you're actually doing a job here. It uses their time up, because God, it must be boring as well on some of them units. I can't, you know.
100%.
Yeah,
I get bored.
Yeah,
like when say there's not enough staff, leaves and stuff can't go ahead, and certain activities probably can't go ahead because there's not enough staff to facilitate that happening. So then you're just trapped on the unit, and as a staff member, sometimes you feel trapped. Like I need to get off somewhere, but I get to go home at the end of the day.
Yeah.
They don't. They have to stay there, and it's just like I understand. Like, God, it's boring. God, I want to do something. Why can't I do something?
That old saying, the devil makes work of hard lands. If you've got nothing else to do, you'll find something to divide your time, and that's normally something naughty, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Like, yeah, I'd mess around sometimes, like just for a bit of entertainment. And like you wind your mates up and stuff, but like in that sort of setting, there's obviously bigger consequences. Like I know a lad who had a joke with a member of staff, what he thought was a joke, but they took it the wrong way, and it just like messed up a lot of things for him. Yeah. But he was genuinely trying to have a joke, but because it's where he is and sort of thing, it all gets blown out of proportion. Not all the time, but like
it can
I
do.
feel like in that case it did, and it's not fair because that could potentially ruin someone's release. Yeah. When we could have been doing more as a system to make things busy. So it's most likely due to funding. It's probably more funding, and like the one thing I change is funding.
What kind of exercise programs do they have there?
There's a gym on site, and they can go to the gym. I think it's 3 times a week, but it's available all the time. Like there's one main gym instructor, and he takes like full on PT, so they can do full on weight sessions, and then they train someone like me and other HCAs and activity workers, so they can do the cardio stuff and press up. So we can take them for that if they want to do that. There's an astroturf, you can go football, but those are 9 to 5 activities. Some people don't work on a 9 to 5 sort of schedule. Yeah. Some people are like, I'm awake at 8 o'clock. Like, I'd like to do something now. Some people, it's like, yeah, it's a normal schedule. A 9 to 5 is a normal schedule in society. But I feel like, again, it's most likely funding. But we could offer sort of like a twilight sort of schedule where, like, okay, in the evening we're going to be doing this.
Yeah. Well, look at the boxing club. You do it on the evening, but like 9 till 5 are great. But everyone I've known who's been very poorly has a wobble, at night time
Mm.
because it's once everything's
All the
closed.
noise has stopped and all the
yeah.
the busyness has stopped, hasn't it?
And because it's after 10 o'clock, I can't phone my mate because I don't want to get him up. The baby's in bed, and then you're left on your own foot,
Mm.
and that's when you get poorly. It's on the weekends.
It's when you drink as well. Most people that won't drink in the day, but
Yeah.
coming to the night, you start having a few.
And these kind of people, even though they're not drinking, but they're in that habit of the noise to stop, as you said. The noise is the outward noise to stop. My inner noise is kicking off.
Mm. And that can be a distraction, just having the outward noise, can't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Having someone to have a roll, having someone to wind up, having someone who pisses you off. But at least you've got someone. I think we all felt like that in lockdown. At least I was lucky enough to have my wife and my daughter, and sometimes you want to shout and scream, but at least you've got someone to be with.
Yeah.
I dreaded the thought if I'd have been on my own council flat on my own, that had really been poorly for me. So I need people to bounce off.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's going to be funding. So the one thing in what I'll change okay is the funding, like more and even prisons funding. You gotta help people, but it's going to cost money because they're going to be programs. But like you said with the like building and stuff.
Yeah, it's
like
even as a chef, if you want to train to be a chef, all them people in that building need to eat.
Yeah.
You know, there's opportunities within what you're doing to, it's going to cost you money, but you've also had potential of saving money.
Especially in NHS, because it's NHS building. Like, they outsource so many things and the contracts are, like, I was looking like for painting a unit, and I found out like one of the prices. I was like, I might put in a quote.
Well, it's bizarre anyway. Every time I go to Russell, I think you pull on the car park, it costs a fortune, but that don't go to the NHS. And then you go in and have something from the canteen, and that don't go to the NHS. You're giving the only two things that really make you money in the whole of this hospital, and neither of them are actually making you money. Yeah. How bizarre is that? Yeah, it's all a bit mad.
It's a bit daft. But like the lads, I guarantee you could do it on a voluntary basis, so it doesn't seem like you're forcing people to do it.
Yeah, I think it'd have to be.
And you can even say like, because there's e-cigs there, they smoke a lot of e-cigs, and we'll give you a corner of e-cigs for doing the job. But we can't actually pay you because then it's like a role. But
10 hours, one e-cig kind of thing.
Do you want to learn how to paint the unit?
Yeah.
Instead of outsourcing that, spending 15 grand to paint one unit, you can just like teach someone a skill and give them something to do.
Yeah. And it's just cost you the paint.
Like what they've done before in other places where they've done like murals. I've done that. Murals.
Yeah.
And like each year or each, you paint it and get their artistic side, but that's a different story every year then, isn't it? Or every 6 months or whatever it is. There are ways around it and bring out the creative side of the mind. And, once we've got a purpose, don't we feel better?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether we're just jotting it down in a journal or I'm painting or some people are exercise buff, so you get them out there, teach them a bit of boxercise, and there's no contact, but a skill, and they can hit the bag. Some people aren't that way. They want to journal, they want to paint, they want to play music, they want to cook, they want to go and rake leaves. But let's work towards their medicine in just giving them nothing. Just solitary confinement. Even the greatest minds, if you lock yourself on your own, it's enough to send you soft anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, and even you have a bit more pride away where like they don't want to be in hospital, but if you go, I painted this unit, you got a bit of pride of of your location, and
yeah.
So you don't, it doesn't feel like a prison then. It's like something. I painted this. It's something you've done.
Actually, Steve's just brought a good point. Not only does it do that, you've got to work with other people as well. You're not painting that whole unit on your own. You need to work with you who's maybe showing you how to paint, or the person next to you is learning how to paint as well. So it's team building, isn't it? As in teamwork, you get to work with other people and learn how to do that.
And that's how you form communities.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not like we're not going to live here forever, but I've had to learn how to take instructions. I've had to learn you're not doing a good job, but you're trying your best. And then I encourage you encourage. And that's how.
Oh, you know what? I've learned to hate fucking painting and never want to do it again.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you know.
Yeah.
Now you know. There's another thing that you've done that you can tick off and say, not that one.
Yeah.
And then you go open another door.
Yeah. Or maybe being a carpenter, maybe. But that's trial and error. And some of these people have never had chance to try anything because working's not in their family. All we do is drug deal. All we do is this. But if you show people, it's actually all right. It's actually rather satisfying lamping this paint on the walls, or as you say, let's try doing this. Allow people to have the chance of trying.
There is a woodwork. They do woodwork there, and some of the stuff they do is really, really, really like high standard. Like you can take that, get old pallets when you're out and stuff, and turn that into one of these.
Yeah,
and that could be your income if you wanted to do something like that, or even just to pass the time. It's like you give them the tools to do something, and they can create amazing things with it. And it's like you said, you got to let people have a go.
And doesn't it drive everyone's head in? It's like it's always down to funding.
Yeah,
and you go, well, we're in Great Britain, and there's so much money out there. How can we be struggling so much with funding? And I'm getting to that stage. Well, if we're in a £1 trillion debt, we might as well make it 2 million, 2 trillion.
I bet stop giving the money away to other countries will be a start.
Let's just sort it out. Let's get the country right. If the NHS is broken, let's fix it. And I'm just thinking.
I don't think there's any if about that anymore.
No,
it's broken, innit? Unfortunately,
and I never want us to lose the NHS because it has been the backbone. It saved my life. You know what I mean? And we needed to get back to how it was.
Without doubt. And
I feel everyone's in agreement today in this room. I mean, we all need to think, how can we make it great again?
I think they should bring back clapping at 8 o'clock though. I used to enjoy that. I used to rush back home just to run back for 8 o'clock.
I'm not clapping, I'll work for them.
Yeah, bang it out.
In my NHS.
Chris, I've really enjoyed it, brother. Is there anything you want to say before, anything about the establishment or about anything in particular?
The establishment of like the NHS?
The NHS or working for mental health or...
No, I think I've said everything that I needed to say about it. It's again, I just think it's a funding issue, but we could be doing a whole lot more for vulnerable people who are lost, people who are broken, to bring them back into society where they have a home, have skills, and have a purpose. And that's what everyone wants, is a purpose, isn't it?
Yeah. The thing is about it, it's not a mystery either, is it? How to kind of help these people? It's just...
Nah.
Do people not want this to happen, or what? What is it? Because we can say it's funding, but I mean, in truth, that's bollocks, isn't it? Because, like you said, there's money everywhere. It's just it doesn't seem to get filtered into the right places.
It's also like dotting the dots, because once you are struggling, you don't know. Like we do our free classes here every Monday to Friday, and there are places that do the help. People don't know about it, but then it also takes you to have that bit of courage to go and do it.
Yeah.
And I think once people are in services, they're not made to, but you go, well, look, Chris, you're bored out your head. You can either sit here in yourself, or you can come and try doing a bit of fitness. You can try doing a bit of fitness. So we're going to be here anyway. So let's get these 6 months out the way, and let's just try some different stuff while you're here. And then isn't that the greatest form of therapy? We're painting, but we're having a chat about mental health, and we're talking about, you got schizophrenia as well.
That, haven't we?
Yeah.
Always said it.
But that's the perfect setting. Instead of all sitting around going, kumbaya, we could have ways of getting people naturally talking while doing stuff.
Yeah.
We've worked together. It's like, you don't really enjoy working in the pouring rain, but when you're having a laugh with your mates, pointing up some bricks and having a laugh,
it's not as bad.
and
the time goes. Yeah,
it's nice. It's like, I'll wake up for that again. Even though it's going to rain, like, I'll wake up for that again. But it's one of them. I think more people who actually work the job need to be in charge of the decisions of the job, rather than people so far removed from the job, like they did it 20 years ago. That was on the front line 20 years ago, and then they moved through the ranks, and now they're ones overseeing, making the decisions without actually being involved in the job. I think we need more people. I'm not saying me, but people like me involved in the decisions more, because that's the only way things will actually work, because first-hand experience. Patients, you're working directly with patients, exactly, they come to you when they've got an issue, so exactly what needs happening. rather than people who work in an office somewhere.
We need people in the trenches. Like in boxing, we need coaches to have a say over the rules. We need people who've been either life experience of being in care or having a nurse who's been over the wards. And the same in the NHS, you need nurses and people to be able to go, well, we need more money for it. We're not cleaners. We need cleaners in cleaning. I'm a nurse. I need to be doing this.
I mean, the NHS is getting better at doing peer-to-peer, aren't they, and employing people with experience, kind of on the other side of the fence. But it's whether that experience is having a say, actually really having that say, and whether it's being implemented after.
Because we get people on boards, you know, and we got Kristian Marrey who's on the board. We go, but are the other 9 people going to listen to my one voice? And we need to stop and go, well, look, you've been there. Tell us, is it more important to get a TV in each room or, I don't know, bloody
Walking groups.
And you go, well, in all honesty, I think the TVs would help certain people. But have that conversation. So I'm a patient. I can tell you, then you have to go and tell Lee. But have that communication. Because obviously we're not all going to have king-size beds and jacuzzis in our rooms. But what can we make it more livable? And what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. And I think if we have that communication through everything, we've got a better chance of getting it. Because some things are just impossible, as I say, king-size beds and jacuzzis. It's not feasible.
Yeah.
Let's work towards the things that we can do and make sense. That's it, guys. We just sorted out everything.
Right for us.
But it's like one thing before we go as well, like with the drug thing. We had Sean Griffiths on here the other day. And we were saying, like, the problem is with a lot of stuff, you can't have 2 diagnoses. You can't have, like, schizophrenia and a drug addict. One had to be the other. Or you can't have someone with bipolar and depression. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, well, he's got drugs, so he's got mental health. Well, maybe he had mental health before the drugs.
Yeah.
Maybe he was taking the drugs to help him get over his mental health. Or maybe he's just that unlucky bugger who's going to have it anyway.
Yeah.
Well, he had trauma as a child. Well, maybe that was 2 different things. Maybe, you know, I could have cancer and Parkinson's.
Yeah.
And a lot of people go, well, he's just a drug addict. He's done this to himself. And you're going, well, it doesn't always work like that. One didn't necessarily mean the other.
And it doesn't mean you shouldn't help anyway. You
No,
might
exactly.
be a drug, like, it's an addict, and people forget that. It means he's probably tried it once, and it's touched something in him, and that's it now. That's all. That's the full focus.
We're filling the problem with it.
Because the drug addict thing's close to home to me, innit? Because like my older brother was addicted to heroin, but he tried heroin when he was like 16, and that's not like really a decision making age. Like, you're with your mates.
And you could have tried heroin at 16, and you've gone, actually, that ain't for me.
I think there was 3 of them what tried it.
Yeah.
2 of them stayed with it. The one was like never again.
Yeah.
But like condemning someone because they're a drug addict, like a 16-year-old, you wouldn't really like condemn them for the rest of their life because of a decision someone made when they're 16.
Yeah.
But the decision they made when they were 16 can condemn them because like he died of an overdose about 4 years ago now, I think. But that decision what he made when he was 16 had a massive impact on his life. But maybe if there was more to help him go like, look, we're going to really help you fight this addiction and give you the support and stuff like that, maybe he wouldn't have kept on falling back on it. Because he did drugs, ended up getting locked up, and then he definitely became institutionalized. Like, he couldn't cope on the outside. He liked the routine of being inside. So there's something there where it's like, why did he feel safer inside? Because of the routine. Why couldn't there have been a system to set him up going like, okay, we can keep this routine when you're on the outside. You don't have to keep coming back in here to find this routine. Let's help you find it. So when you go outside, you have this routine.
And the skills to get around it, because we still treat we fought the war on drugs for so long, and we've tried it this way. If you're on something for you in jail, instead of going, well, why are you on it, what can we do to deal with the problem, and working to fill that hole instead of with drugs, to do with something else, and going, Am I a crook or am I an addict? Am I stealing to be a millionaire? Am I stealing to feed my habit?
Yeah.
And it's these things. It's like, you got the real crooks who are stealing millions and billions, and they live on yachts where you steal a bag of Chewits for some smack, and you'll lock him up, and you're going, well, this person is a self-proclaimed victim. He's a victim of his circumstance. So let's try and change the circumstance to making him and the greater good and community better.
Yeah.
By giving him knowledge and helping him through rehab and making rehab more affordable, if not for free, and piling money into rehab in general.
Yeah, 100%. Because that's one thing that I try and say is, like, I want to help someone, like where I am, I want to help someone so they don't commit a crime in the future, because that stops a potential victim in the future, and you don't know who that victim's going to be. It could be you, could be anyone. It's like, if you can help someone see that they can be much more than what they are, you stop a potential victim in the future, and that's what we should be striving for. How do we prevent more victims?
Well, I've never met an addict who wanted to be a junkie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's always been, it won't get me. I'm just dabbling in it. I dabbled in it. I did it. I'm hooked on it. And that's how it is. And all of a sudden, you've lost the person you was. And then once you try and sober up, the guilt consumes you, and you go back onto it to numb the pain. And that's the circle of addiction. I keep doing it so I haven't got to feel this remorse for the things I've done when I've been under the influence. But if we can get that as ex-addicts coming in and advising, have that introduced into like GPs or what Atlantic House does, but in a bigger, better scale of, today's the day I'm coming off heroin. I've made my decision. Well, can you wait 6 months? Because bump. You need to grab people at that moment of realization going, today's the day.
Yeah.
And we need that to be able to go, let's sort it then. Let's get you on to methadone. Let's get you on to we can move. Because that pause, that week, you've lost them.
Yeah, it's like they rattle and then they go off and do it again. And it's like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I asked for help, I didn't get it.
Yeah. The shame. I've knocked on the door, no one answered, so bollocks.
Yeah.
I'm off. We need to make it more accessible. Because you say, are drugs the problem, or is it the crime that I have to do? And once again, someone having a bag on him, or a gram, or a wrap, or whatever, he's not a criminal. He's a drug user. It's getting him the help so he hasn't, or she the help, so they haven't got to correct the crimes. And if we could have that, like a place where they could go and score, but it's safe. They could put the needles there, make it safe for the drug user, and allowing them to always realise there is options to get off it when you're ready. But yeah, I mean, it's a conversation I think about a lot with drugs, and we need to show people there is a way out, and they're not vermin. They're not these horrible words that get thrown around. They're a person who's going through problems. So show people there is a solution, and it won't be easy, but there are options.
Yeah, and you're not a lost cause.
Yeah.
There's no matter what you've done in the past, you can always come back for it.
Yeah. Well, brother, thank you ever so much for coming on. Is there any quotes or sayings that
Rabbit.
Well, next week, guys, we've got two great guests on. We're going double bubble. We've got Declan, who's coming on, who's been a very good friend of mine. He's a teacher in a local school, and he is everything that a teacher should be. He gives all this positive outlooks. He's a sports teacher. He's a very good friend. And everything we've been saying today about positive role models, he has it in abundance. So I'm so looking forward. And then we've got Hanas coming on, who boxed for Fearless. Very good boxer. He just turned over pro. He's 2-0. Boxes on Matchroom Boxing. So we're going to go in on Wednesday at the later time of 8 o'clock. So I'm really looking forward to both them episodes. So, guys, thank you as always for listening. I want you all to take care of yourselves and each other. Ta-ra a bit.
Listen.
And that's a wrap for another show. But if there are any comments or messages that you would like us to read out for our next podcast, please be in touch. There are also lots of different organisations at the bottom of this page, and hopefully they can help you or or someone you care about. Please share this to spread the word. Until we talk next time, ta-ra a bit.
Listen.